What's going on, everyone? I'm back with another mouse review, and today I'll be taking a look at one of the most beautiful mice on the market, the Zowie S2-DW Special Edition White Glossy. This is a mouse that I've been waiting for a long time. I had a Zowie FK2 Glossy White a while back, and I loved the coating, but was sad that Zowie wasn't making those kind of mice anymore, so when they released these, I knew I had to give it a shot. The S2-DW comes in at about 64 grams. Mine was 64. It's listed at 65 on the site. It has a 3950 and supports 4K polling with Zowie's trademark charger receiver combo. Of course, it has that beautiful glossy coating, which makes this mouse more of an art piece than a gaming mouse that you want to use every day. So let's get right into it. I'll talk about its pros and cons, and I'll give it a rating at the end. So for the pros of this mouse, the coating, the side buttons, the stock skates, the driverless design, and the receiver are all great pros for the mouse. As I said earlier, I love the Zowie glossy coating, and honestly, it's probably my favorite coating on any mouse, not only because it looks super sick, but it really does stick to my hands super well. I really wish more mouse companies made coatings like this, but I doubt that will ever happen. I've seen a couple here and there that have glossy coatings, but I don't think it's ever going to be as well done as it is on a Zowie mouse. The side buttons are also really great, unlike the rest of the buttons on the mouse, which I'll talk about later. They have little to no pre-travel and have just a bit of post-travel, but they feel really nice in game, even though I don't really use them that much. The stock skates are pretty basic, but they have really good coverage, so they are pretty great for adding a bit more control, which I usually do like. They are great for a glass pad, which is what I use this mouse on mostly when I played it. They also include the black skates, which is what comes on the black versions of the mouse in the box, which are even better for glass in my opinion, but for an all-around experience, I really like these white ones. Lastly, the driverless design of Zowie's firmware and the charger receiver combo are amazing. The mouse is really as simple as it gets to configure, and the manual gives you good instructions on how to change all the different values, such as liftoff distance, polling rate, and DPI. I really think more companies should take note and for sure go with that route in the future, because you don't have to worry about software at all, even if it's just online or something like that, and you don't have to download it. I really like that you can just configure this mouse on the fly whenever you want. That also pairs incredibly well with the charging receiver, because I always have my receiver right at the top of my mouse pad, so whenever I would finish a gaming session, I would just stick it right there, and then you know it's charging. So never ran out of battery with it, never had to think about it twice. Now for the cons of this mouse, unfortunately, I do think they outshine the pros, mostly just because they're pretty big cons. The clicks in middle mouse are pretty awful, and they feel super outdated. The weight is definitely too high, and the shape is just odd for my grip style. I was instantly disappointed in the clicks when I opened this mouse. They feel very similar to how the clicks felt on my FK2, which is from 10 years ago. They really don't feel up to par at all with other top-of-the-line click implementations. An example of a good click implementation is like this WL mouse Juan. They have a really good Omron optical implementation on a lot of their mice, and so I think this is kind of the standard for a lot of flagship mice these days, is to have super snappy clicks like that. On the S2-DW, there is a ton of pre and post travel, and they feel extremely springy and almost mushy. I'm sure this has to do with Zowie's signature one-piece top shell, where the clicks are attached to the rest of the mouse instead of being individual pieces, like on the Juan. This does look really nice and is very aesthetically pleasing, but I don't think it's worth it for the lesser functionality. The mouse wheel similarly feels outdated. It's pretty rattly, but it does click down fine. Overall, the clicks just feel like they haven't really changed since they're older mice, which, like I said, are almost 10 years old. The shape feeling off for me kind of feels like my own fault. The S2 has a much higher click height than the FK2, and it really felt off to me. I honestly didn't know that I would notice it that much, but it took me a long time to get used to using this mouse. So for F-tip use, I think this mouse is not the one to pick from Zowie, and the FK2 or the ZA13 would be a much better pick. And that's really just because the click height does get a lot closer to the mouse pad on those at the... Lastly, the weight is definitely something that I think should be improved on the mouse. I know that this mouse is marketed to competitive tack shooter players, which I am not one of, but if Zowie wants other players to use this mouse, I think it needs to be on par with other mice of similar size in terms of weight. It's definitely not a huge con, and I do think that weight is not the biggest thing that someone needs to be looking at in their mice, but it's definitely something to note, and a lesser weight would be better on this mouse. All in all, I really did enjoy using this mouse, but I think it was more so because of nostalgia and aesthetics than actual performance. I got used to using the mouse eventually, but I would never pick it over others that I have in my collection as my main. As for a rating, I'll give this one a 3.0 out of 5 just in terms of use in gaming. I could stare at it all day, and I think it's a great mouse for me to have in my collection, but I don't think it's going to get much use. Anyways, that's going to do it for my review of the Zowie S2-DW. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate the love recently on my Twitter posts. Next, I'll be taking a look at the WL mouse Juan, which I think is going to be my favorite mouse of the year already. So I will see you then. Thank you so much. Peace.
Hey, we can fuck little mama, I can't lip lock. She spend 100 on some new socks.